Hello, my name is Nick Grewe, and today I will be talking about the Sentinelese people, or the inhabitants of North Sentinel Island. The Sentinelese, also known as the Sentinelese, or the North Sentinel Islanders, are an indigenous group of people who inhabit North Sentinel Island and the Bay of Bengal off the coast of India. They have been designated as a particularly vulnerable tribal group and a scheduled tribe. They belong to the broader group of Sentinelese peoples. Along with the Great Sentinelese, the Jawaras, the Anj, and the Shappan, the Sentinelese are one of the 6 native and often reclusive peoples of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Unlike the others, the Sentinelese constantly refuse contact with the outside world. They are hostile to outsiders and have killed people who approach the island or have landed on the island. In 1956, the government of India declared North Sentinel Island a tribal reserve and prohibited travel within a 3-mile circle of the island. India now maintains a constant armed patrol to prevent outsiders from breaching the circle. Photography is also not allowed. Now on to the inhabitants of the islands, or the Sentinelese people. In recent studies or circles of the island, they are approximated to be about 5 foot 3 inches tall, possibly because of insular dwarfism, which is so called the island effect. This is related to nutrition or simply genetic heritage, but during a 2014 circumnavigation of the island, researchers estimated their height to be around 5 foot 3 inches and 5 foot 5 inches and recorded their skin color as dark shining black with well-aligned teeth. It was also noted that there was no signs of obesity among any of the members on the island, and they had very prominent muscles. A handbook released in 2016 by the Anthropological Survey of India on vulnerable tribe groups estimates that the population of the island, or the Sentinelese people, is between 100 and 150 people. The Sentinelese are hunter-gatherers, which means whatever they eat is what they have scavenged. Most of their actions are described as never having evolved since the Stone Ages, and it is also worth noting that they do not practice agriculture, so they don't plant or eat like anything they've made themselves. It's just whatever they can capture. They live in small huts risen on 4 poles with slanted leaf-covered roofs, so kind of like tree houses, and they acknowledge the value of metal, having scavenged it to create tools and weapons, and accepted aluminum cookware left by the National Geographic Society in 1974. They have also developed canoes suitable for lagoon fishing, but use long poles rather than paddles or oars to propel them. Both sexes in this community wear bark strings, which is basically like a thong, and the men always tuck daggers into their waist belts. They also wear some ornaments such as necklaces and headbands, but are essentially naked. Because of their isolation, the language of the island is unknown. Here's some recent contact made with the Sentinelese people. In 1771, an East India Company hydrographic survey vessel, the Diligent, observed a multitude of lights upon the shore of North Sentinel Island, which is the island's first recorded mention. The crew decided not to investigate. During a late summer monsoon in October of 1867, the Indian merchant vessel named the Nineveh foundered on the reef of North Sentinel Island. All the passengers and crew reached the beach safely, but as they proceeded for their breakfast on the 3rd day, they were subject to a sudden assault by a group of naked, short-haired, red-painted islanders with arrows that were probably iron-tipped. The captain, who fled in the ship's boat, was found days later by a brig, and the Royal Navy sent a rescue party to the island. Upon arrival, the party discovers that the survivors had managed to keep away the attackers, the Sentinelese people, with sticks and stones. In 1880, 3 years later, in an effort to establish contact with the Sentinelese, British naval officer Maurice Vidal Portman, who was serving as a colonial administrator to the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, led an armed group of Europeans along with convict orderlies and Andamanese trackers whom they have already befriended, so they met them on another expedition to North Sentinel Island. On their arrival, the islanders fled into the tree line. After several days of futile search, during which they found abandoned villages and paths, Portman's men captured 6 individuals, an elderly man, a woman, and 4 children. The man and woman died shortly of illness after their arrival in Port Blair, and the children began to fall ill as well. Portman hurriedly sent the children back to the North Sentinel Island with a large quantity of gifts to establish friendly relations. So basically, they died because they hadn't been exposed to anything in the main world, just like the Indians did when the Pilgrims came. In 1896, a convict escaped from the penal colony on Great Andaman Island on a makeshift raft and drifted across to the North Sentinel Island beach. His body was discovered by a search party some days later with several arrow piercings and a cut throat. Richard Carnac Temple, who went to the North Sentinel Island in 1899, described the Sentinelese as a tribe which slays every stranger, however inoffensive, on sight, whether a forgotten member of itself, of another Andamese tribe, or a complete foreigner. During the 1970s and 1980s, T.N. Pandit undertook several visits to the islands, sometimes as an expert advisor and tour parties, including dignitaries who wished to encounter an aboriginal tribe. Beginning in 1981, he regularly led official expeditions with the purpose of establishing friendly contact with the Sentinelese people. Many of these got a friendly reception with hordes of gifts left for them, but some ended in violent encounters. Most of these encounters were filmed on camera. In 1974, a National Geographic film crew went to the island with a team of anthropologists, including T.N. Pandit, and was accompanied by armed police to film a documentary, Man in Search of Man. They planned to spread the operation of gift-giving over the course of 3 days in an attempt to establish friendly contact. When the motor broke through the barrier reefs, the locals emerged from the jungle and shot arrows at it. The crew landed on a safe point at the coast and left gifts in the sand, including a miniature plastic car, some coconuts, a live pig, a doll, and aluminum cookware. The Sentinelese followed up by launching another volley of arrows, one of which struck the documentary director in his thigh. The man who wounded the director withdrew to the shade of the tree and laughed proudly, while others speared and buried the pig and the doll. They left afterward, taking the coconuts and cookware. This exhibition also led to the first photograph of the Sentinelese, published by Raghuveer Singh in National Geographic magazine, where they were presented as people for whom arrows speak louder than words. During a visit on January 4th, 1991, the Sentinelese approached the party without weaponry for the first time. They collected coconuts that were offered, but retreated to the shore as the team gestured for them to come closer. The team returned to the main ship, MV Tarmugli. It returned to the island in the afternoon to find at least 24 Sentinelese on the shoreline, one of whom pointed a bow and arrow at the party. Once a woman pushed the arrow down, the man buried his weapons in the beach, and the Sentinelese approached quite close to the dinghies for the first time. The director of tribal welfare distributed 5 bags of coconuts hand to hand. His name was Vishvat Pandey, and he said that those present in the defining moments of physical contact now wish to extract professional mileage from the fact of being actually touched by the Sentinelese during the gift-giving exercise. Every participating member of the contact party wanted to take the credit of being the first to touch the Sentinelese, as if it were a great mystical moment of transubstantiation, wherein the savage hostile reciprocated a gesture of civilized friendship. Who touched and who was touched during the contact event became an emotionally charged issue within various sectors of the administration, where claims and counterclaims were sought to be established with earnestness and vigor. It is interesting to note that the range of political and cultural significance invested in the specific event of contact. Now to recent visits. On January 27, 2016, 2 Indian fishermen by the names of Sundar Raj and Pandit Tiwari, who had been attempting to illegally harvest crabs off North Sentinel Island's coast, drifted towards the island after their boat's makeshift anchor failed during the night. They did not respond to warning calls from passing fishermen, and their boat drifted into the shallows near the island, where a group of Sentinelese warriors attacked the boat and killed the fishermen with axes. The most recent visits to North Sentinel Island were in November 2018. They came from a guy named John Allen Chu, a 26-year-old American trained and sent by the U.S.-based Christian missionary organization All Nations. He traveled to North Sentinel Island with the aim of contacting and living amongst the Sentinelese people and converting them to Christianity. Chu did not get the permits required to visit the island and traveled illegally to the island by bribing local fishermen. He showed a great desire to convert the tribe and assume the risk of death he faced and of the illegality of his visits. He wrote, "Lord, is this island Satan's last stronghold, where none have heard or even had the chance to hear your name? The eternal lives of this tribe are at hand, and I think it's worthwhile to declare Jesus to these people. Please do not be angry at them or at God if I get killed. Do not retrieve my body." On the 15th of November, Chow attempted his first visit in a fishing boat, which took him about 1,500 to 2,300 feet from the shore. The fisherman warned Chu not to go any further, but he canoed toward the shore with a waterproof Bible in hand. As he approached, he attempted to communicate with the Sentinelese and to offer gifts, but he retreated after facing hostile responses. On another visit, Chu recorded that the islanders reacted to him with a mixture of amusement and hostility. He attempted to sing worship songs to them and spoke to them in Xhosa, after which they fell silent. Other attempts to communicate ended with them bursting into laughter. Chow stated they communicated with lots of high-pitched sounds and gestures. Eventually, according to Chow's last letter, when he tried to hand over fish and gifts, a boy shot a metal-headed arrow that pierced the Bible he was holding in front of his chest, after which he retreated again. On his final visit, on the 17th of November, Chow told the fisherman to leave without him. The fisherman later saw the Sentinelese dragging Chow's body, and the next day they saw his body on the shore. Chow's death was treated as a murder, but the Sentinelese people would not be charged by the country of India. Indian officials made several attempts to recover Chow's body, but eventually abandoned these efforts. An anthropologist involved in the case told The Guardian that the risk of a dangerous clash between investigators and the Sentinelese people was too great to justify any further attempts. Chow remains buried on the island. It is safe to say that the Sentinelese people have adapted a way of life where it is way better to be cut off from the outside world, and they feel that way. They've shown us that they will become violent and that it may not be safe to go there, and I think we should respect them. What do you think?